Okay, today we come to the end of Philippians. And we've been on a little bit of a journey. You know, when you read Paul's letters, Paul was the area that I specialized in. Judy and I have had lots of conversations. She and I have the same degree. So we can have conversations that you guys don't understand. And that's really fun because I need at least one person I'm heading into the wrong direction here. No, we have lots of discussion. But when Paul writes a letter, he's not only just writing just comments here and there. It doesn't work that way. He has the ability to organize it in a way that takes you on a journey. It takes you on a direction, okay? Because he's heading someplace that you need. So we have been asking the question, what does it mean to be human, for over a year? We've been looking at it. We're going to continue that discussion through this year as well. Believe it or not, I keep telling you, we're going to start Numbers here in just a couple of weeks. And people keep saying, every week, you haven't got used to it. Numbers, really? Isn't that a lot of numbers? But in Hebrew, the title is in the desert or in the wilderness. Now that they've made the commitment to the Lord, and now that they have gone through Leviticus and completed all the vows, what they're going to do, all that the Lord has said we will do. Now that they've done that, now they get into the desert. And this is where they learn what it really looks like to serve the Lord. For example, prior to them making the commitment, every time they murmured, God didn't punish them. But now he does. Why? What changed? Because now they understand. You see, Numbers takes place a year after they've left Egypt. So they've had a chance to really sit there and think about it and learn about this God firsthand. So now they said, okay, all that you said we will do. And so now God's going to hold them accountable to what they said they would do, the vows. And we're going to be wrestling through that part of that book. We're going to be wrestling with the question of what does it mean to be a human? And God is the only one that can answer it. The world cannot. All you have to do is look around and you see all the confusion the world has on what does it mean to be human. That's why we're taking an extended time working through some of these books. When we got to Philippians, we changed the question a little bit differently. We focused on joy. So we called this series The Joy of Being Human. And Philippians is all about joy. Joy is mentioned in every chapter over and over and over again. It's talked about there. And so joy is kind of at the heart of this. But another theme that parallels joy through this book is the concept of servanthood. Had the attitude like Christ had, okay, to put others first. Why? Because when you put others first, joy is automatic. You don't have to manufacture it. Those of you that have struggled financially or in some way here in our church ran to your rescue and helped you, you felt joy. When we showed up at the door, we helped you financially. We've helped you with whatever you need. When we put others first, joy is the automatic response. You don't have to generate joy. It happens. Why? Because we're created for that. We're created by God to experience joy. A lot of times when I'm talking in bars, coffee shops, wherever I am, restaurants, talking to people, by the way, I just flew to Idaho to help a good friend, say goodbye to his wife. You know, she got cancer and died. So I flew out there for the memorial service and we spent time together. And as always happens, my flights got delayed and changed. But you have to, I saw that look. Some of you say, I'm never flying with you. I love it because I never know what the Lord's going to do. So I'm watching all the people. We got on the plane, we pull out, and the pilot says, well, we just had a warning light come on, one that we can't fly with. So they're towing us back to the gate, everybody off the plane. Everybody around me is getting frustrated. You know, well, I got to get there. I got da-da-da-da. And I just sat back and looked around and looked at all the negative energy. And I just smiled and said, okay, Lord, where are we going? What's going to happen? You know, I looked online and the next flight won't get me there till the next day back at home. So what are we doing? You got to plan somewhere. This is what happens, okay? So this is what Paul's talking about. He's getting ready to tell us how he has learned to be content in every situation. It's not easy to be there, is it? It doesn't take much for us to cross that threshold into anxiety. We're always this far from frustration, anger, anxiety. It doesn't matter what we say. Am I right? We're always one step, aren't we? Just one step. So, we now come to the end. Listen to what he says in verse 10 of chapter 4. I rejoiced, there it is again. Boy, oh boy. It's all over the place, joy and rejoicing. I rejoiced greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. Okay? I'm not saying this because I am in need. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, stop. Remember where he is? He's in prison. We talked about this a few weeks ago. The prisons in the ancient world are not like ours. You get to exercise and color TV, and you get to take college courses. No, no, no. If you go look at some of the ancient prisons, some of them in the ancient world, they're only this tall. You can't even stand up. You're chained and you're sitting and there's moisture on the ground, maybe water flowing. There's rats. They don't feed you. If your friends don't feed you, you die. This is where he is when he's writing this letter. Okay, now listen to what he says again. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I am in need. You see how startling these words are? Sitting there chained to another person? I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I've learned to be content. It doesn't matter. One day this is going to be a memory and we're all going to laugh together. So when they pulled me back up to the gate, get off the plane. Okay, Lord, what's going on? Where are we going? Who do you want me to talk to? I'm game, whatever. You know? If you don't want me to talk to anybody, I've got a good book to read. By the way, one of my favorite things in the world is when I schedule a coffee and I get stood up. It's usually with the teens. You know why? Because I always bring a good book. There's nothing better than a good cup of coffee, a good book, and nobody knows where I am. It's okay, Lord. I'm content. I got to help a friend say goodbye to a wife. Time was cut short. Sweet woman. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. When I tell you these stories, I'm trying to illustrate these things. With my first wife, she was terminal and she was pregnant. And I remember opening the fridge. I had been laid off. It's a horrible time in our history. The inflation rates were very high. Some of you remember that. Inflations were so high. And I just knelt down in front of the fridge. The only thing in there was a jar of mayonnaise. And I just prayed. And I said, Lord, I have no way to get food. And Judy's pretty sick. So I'd appreciate it if you'd do something to help. And about that time, I start to weep and I'm crying. And I hear rustling at the door. So I close the fridge, open the door, and it's the assistant pastor at our church, 2 bags of groceries with a piece of paper with our address on it. And he said, I suppose it's too late to be anonymous, huh? I know what it's like to be in need. I know what it's like to take care of a pregnant, terminally ill wife and not have anything. Be completely dependent. By the way, that's what you see on these videos. Of these people, when they come to the Lord, they have no options. If the Lord doesn't take care of them, they won't survive. Okay? Now, I'm not wishing you to be there. I don't want you to be there. One of the challenges we have raising our teenagers is that there's 2 pathways to the Lord. One is to figure out what you escaped. I live in that path. I'm thankful that the Lord rescued me out of drugs and poverty. I'm thankful. I wasn't born on the right side of the tracks. My family was very, very poor. And the other pathway is to look to learn what you avoided. And that's where I want you to be. I don't want you to go back and have to do drugs so you can be rescued. I don't want that at all. But what I do want you to do is capture a picture of what it would have been like if God had not been involved in your life. That's what he's talking about here. I understand that. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, because I can do all of this through him who gives me strength. Okay, how did he develop this level of commitment? How many times have I said to you, some of you have been with me for almost 12 years, how many times have I said to you, living the Christian life is not easy. It's grueling. It's not Christmas every day, is it? The Lord feels the freedom to throw curveballs in your life that draw you closer to him because you need it. But that doesn't make it fun or enjoyable. It's just necessary when you look at those things. So how did he get here? Well, first of all, he's lived a pretty long life of a whole lot of trials and tribulation. Way back in the beginning, we talked about that. When you look at Paul's life from the day he was saved to the day he was executed, about 95, 96, 97%, as best we can tell, were either on the road or in prison. He walked over 14,000 miles. If you've ever been to Asia Minor or any of those places, it's not flat. Okay? It's like this, and he walked that, and it was a very unsafe time in the world to just be walking. He talks later on about being beat, shipwrecked, hungry, destitute, and he never gave up. Living the Christian life is not easy. It's not easy. So look at where we've come, because the whole book of Philippians is leading us to this place. True joy comes through contentment. Okay? When you learn to be content, then you begin to experience some of the deeper joys that there is available. Look at where we've come. We talked in the beginning about joy in hard times. He talks about being in prison, and he rejoices because he's in prison. People are sharing the gospel. A lot of them are sharing the gospel to cause him harm because they know they're going to beat him more and more. And he said, so what? What difference does it make? Only that Christ is being shared. He didn't care. Remember the story of Philippians? Philippi, Acts 16? He was beat severely with a rod. And the next day, he said, oh, by the way, I'm a Roman citizen. He could have had them executed. All he had to do was play that card. But he chose not to because he saw the opportunity for the Lord to work. Some of you know the story when the big earthquake happened in Kathmandu. You guys gave a lot of money, other people did, and I smuggled in a lot of money to Kathmandu. Flew over there just for a day to bring money because I knew if we transported it electronically, it would have been taken by the government. So I carried it over, hand carried it. I was in Africa. I figured I might as well go to Nepal while I'm over on that side of the world to get in. And so I did. I got to take the money in. You know what they did with the money? You think they would rebuild their houses. All their houses crashed and crumbled. They're living underneath tarps. No, they said, this is the Spirit of God. This is God at work. So they used the money to rebuild their Hindu houses, their neighbors. And then they said, our God protected us. Where were your gods? Now they have 5 new churches that are full because of that. Okay, and this is what Paul's saying. Joy from hard times. You don't have to worry. If God is taking you through a hard time, there's a reason for it. All you got to do is look around you and you begin to see why he's doing it. Then we talked about the joy of friendship. He talks about how much he loves the Philippians. It's nice to have Christians stand by your side, true friends, isn't it? Yeah. When I flew in yesterday, I walked into the church, and it's a big church, probably 5 times the size of this one. There's a crowd around him. So I just quietly went over here to sign the guest book, and I hear out loud, Jim Howard! And he leaves it, and he comes over to give me a big hug. We don't even live in the same place, but we serve in ministry together. He was so excited to see me. That's not boasting. That's an example of joy, of friendship. And he said, you flew all the way here just to stand with me. Yeah, I did. I did. And I hope we're all like that. I hope you run to your friends when they're in trouble. And then from there he talks about the joy beyond suffering, not the joy in suffering, the joy beyond suffering, where he talks about Jesus. Have the same example that Jesus has. Hebrews 12. We've read it many times over the years. Who? Talking about Jesus. For the joy set before him endured the cross today. You have to have the right perspective of suffering. The joy comes on the other side. How many of you are willing to walk through suffering with that perspective? Joy's coming. For some people, it won't be till glory. Some people that are very sick, that true joy won't come till later. And for all of us, it'll be a much richer later. But do you think that way? It's really hard to change your thinking and think, okay, whatever happens, the joy's on the other side. I don't care about an airplane that gets canceled. I don't care about that. I wonder why God's doing it. Told you many times when I get on a flight overseas, if something doesn't happen, I change what I'm going to talk about because I'm not even important enough for Satan to come after. That's how I think about it. Then he talks about standing together as a congregation. By the way, when you read the Bible, I haven't counted them all, but I'm guessing about 95, 96% of the commands in the Bible, the imperatives, are in the plural, y'all. I was corrected last week when I said we need to have the Texas version, y'all. And gosh, several people, I didn't know you were so intelligent, came up to me and said, no, it's all y'all. You just need to read the Bible. Every time you see a command, don't think about it as an individual. Think about it as a y'all together. So what he's talking about, standing together in unity. In unity. That's why I had the sermon back in November on the town council, what we're trying to do to recall. And I torqued a few of you off, and I'm okay with that. Okay? Not here to make you happy. Unity is more important than good decisions. Okay? And our town is in danger. It's at risk of dividing over this. We got 2 of our town council members here in our church. I'm proud of them. I don't agree with them all the time. We've had plenty of debates and arguments. Haven't we, Dana? We have, right? Haven't we, Renee? Yeah, we can have a good debate. I think your decision is terrible. But my gosh, I'm so glad they're there because they're Christian. Am I right? Yeah, we don't mind debating, but I don't care about that. What I care about is that 2 of our members are on the town council. And so we have the presence of the Spirit right there. Unity. Stand firm. That's language, coded language throughout the New Testament for spiritual battle. Don't let Satan get in the middle. How do we know Satan is here? When we start dividing. That's how we know. It's a dead giveaway. When I see quarrels starting to happen, I see tension starting to develop, I run to it. I run straight to it because I know that's where Satan's present right there. Standing firm is coded language for fight the battle together. Stand firm. I'll tell you what's worth dividing over. There's really only one thing. The elders asked me a couple years ago, can we make a fatal decision? Yeah, there's only one. Take Jesus out of the doctrinal statement. But you'll be looking for a new pastor anyway, so it won't matter. That's the only thing we should divide over. Nothing else is worth it. Not for division. And it goes on there. The joy from sacrificing. The joy of putting others first. Have this attitude in yourselves which was in Christ Jesus, who put you first. When you put each other first, joy happens. Unity happens. And more than that, the world looks and they see it. They see it. They know about our church all over the county. I know because I go ask. We do have a reputation. Let's make sure it's one that looks like this. I don't want them to say, oh, your people are quarrelsome. They argue, they fight, they divide. I don't want that. They're always complaining. No. Oh, yeah, that's a church that I like it when those people come into my restaurant. I've heard that. They're always kind. They are generous when they tip. Those are the kind of reputations we want. I went to a restaurant many, many years ago, and it was across the church across from a mega church in Denver. And Nancy and I went there to have dinner, and the server was, she wasn't very nice. And I said, "Is everything okay with you? Is everything okay?" And she said, "I'm so sorry. She goes, yeah, I'm fine. It's okay. And I said, no, it's not. What's going on? And she said, well, she doesn't know anything about me. The church across the street's a mega church, just let out, and they all came over. Big group. And I said, okay. And she pulls out 4 Spiritual Laws tract and said, this was my tip. You gotta be kidding me. If I was their pastor, they would have had it next Sunday. Really? That's the tip. So Nancy and I gave her a very, very large tip, much more than our bill. She goes, you don't have to do that. And I said, I know I don't have to do it, but I'm a Christian too, and I want you to see another side. It's called sacrificing. And then he goes from there. This is how he's building his argument. This is where we've been the last 10 weeks. Shining brightly. Do all things without grumbling and complaining. Then you will shine like stars in the dark. That's when you'll shine. And I sat there at the airport a couple days ago and watched everybody complaining and everybody angry and the poor gate attendants doing their best to help people. Is it their fault that the plane broke down? No, it's not. The funny thing about it was I had 2 hours on a layover for my next flight. So after about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, she comes back on. She goes, well, they fixed the problem, so now we're going to get back on the airplane. All that negative energy was completely wasted. Half the people stormed off to go try to find another flight, so they missed this one. It's good for me. I got upgraded to first class. All that energy wasted for no reason. Nancy and I have talked many times about the things that frustrate us, and one of the questions we ask is, 6 months from today, what we're struggling with today, will it be a big issue? If not, then why are we frustrated with today? And he's talking about that. You shine brightly, not because you have the right words to say, but because you avoid the wrong words. You quit complaining and you start shining brightly. This is a journey that leads to this statement of contentment that he's talking about. This is how we got there. You see how hard it is to live a Christian life? These are not easy things to do, are they? They're not. Then he talks about authentic community. What it's like to have a healthy church right here. Right here. This makes it easier because we support one another. It does, right here. We help each other. It's a safe place to come. I want all of you to feel like when you walk through those doors, what are you going to get? A hug and a big love? You know, somebody who just cares about you. Hopefully you get 10 or 15 or 20 of them. He moves from there, joy that comes from being a citizen of heaven. That's when I brought my passport. And I said, what good is this passport? Well, it gets me into almost every country in the world. Not all of them, but most of them. I can go anywhere. But not only that, if I'm in trouble, all I have to do is show the passport and I get connected to the embassy. We're citizens of heaven. That's where our citizenship is. You don't have to worry. God is on your side. He cares about you. Lay all of your cares on Him because He cares about you. And we finished last week with the joy of knowing Jesus. There's no deeper joy in the world than that. So, the final step in this parade, this idea, this journey of ideas, is perhaps the hardest one of all. It's found in verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true. I said to you after the election, I couldn't go to sleep. Stayed up all night watching the election. You know why? The prophets give us glimpses of how God works nationally. But we don't have any way to measure that today except in a federal election. I stayed up all night to see what God was going to do. I know there's a debate out there among you, does God control elections, blah, 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 blah. God is sovereign. You know what that means? He is 100% in control. That's what that means. Does he always control everything? Nobody can. And he's actually controlling things by not controlling things. Just like a good parent. You have teenagers. Several of you have children. You have to decide, when do I punish and when do I let them experience the consequences? But it's all for their good. Am I right? That's good parenting. That's what sovereignty means. Do you want a God who controls every behavior that you do? Does your child want you to control everything that they do? No. That's what is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So whatever he does in our life, when he decides to intervene or not intervene, he's still in control, but he's making that decision for our good. He does it for the good of those who love him. Romans 8. So I couldn't go to sleep. It's one of the few glimpses I can get at a national level. And now I'm reading every executive order, what's going on, trying to figure out, okay, God, what's happening here? Sometimes I read an executive order and I go, wow, Trump's brilliant. And sometimes I read it and I go, what are you thinking? To me, it's a blend of comedy and a blend of watching God at work. Just laugh at Trump and laugh at Biden, okay? Just laugh at them. It's more important to pray for them, Paul says. Pray. And Peter says, for those in authority, guess what? They're no different than you. They may have a little more information, but they're still human. Pray for them. They desperately need it. They do. I pray for Dana and Renee all the time. They desperately need it. They're trying to decide things. Praise God, it's not me. So listen to what he says. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. When's the last time you start down a trail in your mind and you go, stop? Paul talks about taking control of your own emotions. You do have control. It's called self-control. Stop. This is not going to end in a good place. When's the last time you did that? Do you see how hard it is to live the Christian life? But when you get into the habit of saying, whoa, stop. That's the sinful side that Paul talks about in Galatians. Stop. You make me mad, maybe? Stop. I'm not God. I don't really know your motives. And it's a statement of how I think about you when I think I can judge you. That's why Jesus said in Luke 6, do not judge, do not condemn. No shame. I've said many times, if you're stuck in sin, welcome to the club. Don't stay there. Come talk to me or one of our staff or one of our elders or a counselor. Don't stay there. No judgment, no condemnation. We are all there. I may laugh at you because you got yourself in a bind. Okay? Come get help. Don't stay there. So when's the last time you said, no, I'm not going to go down that track? Okay, that's just leading to anger, and the anger of God, anger of humans does not carry out the plan of God. I'm going to stop my thinking right now. That's called self-discipline. No, I'm going to stop complaining right now. I like to complain. Ask my staff. No, ask Nancy. Okay? I do. When's the last time you said, I'm going to pause right here? You want joy and you want contentment? Here it is. There's no shortcut. Bill and I were talking this morning. It takes a long time to learn this. And it takes a whole lot of practice, and God's willing to give you opportunity after opportunity to learn how. Because you know what? The world is broken. Get used to it. It's a fallen world. And Satan's going to throw everything at you that you don't like. It's going to take everything you have to practice this. These are the things you should think about. Take control of your own mind. No. I'm not going to do that. If it's somebody I'm mad at, I'm going to turn around and love them and pray for them instead. See what I can do to serve them, help them. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me, goes on in verse 9, or seen in me, put it into practice. There it is. Practice. Keep practicing, and the God of peace will be with you. You want the secret to joy? You want the secret to contentment? There it is. It's hard, isn't it? Living the Christian life, it's hard. That's where he's heading in the book. We're asking the question, what does it mean to be human? You're created for joy. You're created to relax. You're not created for anxiety, all that, tension. That's what the world throws at us. I've said many times, those that I see that immerse themselves in the Word regularly and in their friendships, their heart is softer. Those that don't, their heart is captured by everything going on out there. It's not meant to make you feel guilty, okay? If you're struggling a lot with all these things, the anxiety, the strife, the dissension, all of that stuff, it just means you're a little bit too far away from the Lord. That's all it means. So what Paul's trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is just get you to take a step closer. That's all. Just a step. Take a step closer to the Lord and watch the heart soften. And then you don't mind if your air flights get canceled. Because the Lord is doing something, even if you don't know what it is. Father, thank you for laughing with us, Lord. But thank you for also, in your deepest love, working daily with us so that we can practice these things. Help us, Father. You've given us your Spirit, and one of his gifts to us is self-control. Lord, we really need it because it's hard. This world is hard. Everything around us is so fractured, more than I've ever seen it. God, we could use your help. Help our people because we need it. Help us to stay focused on you so we can just taste that joy that you talk about at a deeper level. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.